a Christmas thing. This is a Christmas T-shirt, whether you can recognize that or not.
Oh no, I can't see enough of it.
Yeah,
so you're like this.
Got Noel, and so yeah, it's Christmas.
There you go.
I was gonna wear a black one that had the wise men on it, but it was so dark, and the wise men were even kind of dark instead of bright.
Oh, I have a necklace that wouldn't show up on screen, but it has a little silver rectangle, and etched in it is a camel, and I wear that to my book signings and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's fun to have that book jewelry. I've got one that's got my book covers on it, from Rain.
Oh wow, yeah, that's neat.
Looks like she's still posting it.
All right.
Okay.
We are on Biblical Fiction Aficionados. I heard Dana already talking about her Christmas, so I will see how long this goes because it's still Arizona. But welcome to Biblical Fiction Aficionados. I'm Naomi Craig. We're so happy that you're here with us. We have a great show, a great live today that we are excited to introduce to you, Lana Christian. A few housekeeping rules before we get started. Every comment that you make now or in the replay will go towards winning a paperback of New Star, which is fantastic. I've started reading it. And the comments will be open through Friday. And so be sure if you're watching now that you comment, let us know where you're coming in from. And then we can put you in the drawing. So the comments will be open through Friday. We will have a question and answer. So feel free as we go through, if you have a question that for Lana, that you put that in the comments. And we also will have a fun true false game and a reading from the Star. So before we get into that, I'd like you all to say hello to my co-host, Dana McNeely. Hi, Dana.
Hello. Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
So what have you been working on lately?
I am finishing up let me put me in here. I'm finishing up my sequel to And the Numbers Grow with Donna Elaine, and this one is coming out soon. It's another set of 4 novellas interwoven together. So I'm on a roll with that. For my last part of that, Donna's already done, and of course, because she's brilliant, and I'm just really slow this year. So I did that, but I also have a Christmas book relaunching this season, and it's after we meet Lana's wise men. We'll see Herod's scribe. So it's from Herod's scribe's perspective, and it's called The Weary World Rejoices. So I just got done doing a Kickstarter with that. I'm really, really pleased with that. I brought on my good friend Richard Johnson to sing O Holy Night as a special tier for that. So I'm really excited to start doing fulfillment on that.
I'm excited to see it come out. I'm getting a hardback, I think. So
yeah, and it's available for pre-order now on Amazon. And so Dana and I will share our links in this as well. But yeah, it's a Christmas novella. It was originally part of Keeping Christmas. I got the rights back, and then I have given it a cover and ready to have it out as its own project. So I'm excited about that. So what about you, Dana? What are you working on?
Well, I am really excited that the middle of September, I finally turned in my book 3, which I am tentatively calling Mantle. So we have Rain, we have Whirlwind, and then we have Mantle in the stories of Elijah and Elisha. And now I am working on something entirely different, a New Testament story set in the book of Luke. and it tells the story of Anna the prophetess in Herod's temple at the time of the baby Jesus. So it kind of fits in with our Christmas theme today. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Demi, I know, girl. This is actually, it's iced coffee. I'm just telling you. But we're in Arizona here, so I'm sure Dana's a lot warmer than I am up in Globe. But yeah, it's
funny.
And I have a Christmas T-shirt on, whether you can tell or not. It has little words like to the Christmas carols, like Noel, Noel.
That's cute.
Yeah. Lana's just a stick in the mud today.
No, my top is the same color as the cover of my book.
Oh, well, there we go.
Very perfect. So welcome. We would like to welcome on Lana Christian. Lana is the author of New Star. It's kind of like an origin story for the wise men, and I love it so far. I'm really enjoying it. So Lana, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I have a dual writing career. By day, I write for a very different audience. I write for doctors and researchers. By night, I do faith-based writing. The common thread between those two is a lot of research. So research in my day job made me good at doing deep research for New Star.
Well, that's cool. So anything else you want to add before I jump right into reading about Akilah and your different?
No, just don't have a lot of free time right now.
Of course, we were talking about all the different projects you've already got underway. You want to share any of those or just keep those secret for the future?
This is the first installment of a 4-book series. And there is an epilogue after the series as well. And beyond that, there are probably more books in my mind and in different stages of development than I'll probably be able to write in the rest of my lifetime. But hopefully with the guidance of my publisher, we'll pick which one comes next after the series.
Well, it seems like you have a whole lot of exciting ideas, which is really wonderful. So, well, I would like to read from a little bit of a condensed version of the back cover copy, but this is really capturing this book has a lot of adventure and kind of suspense. It's not your typical Christmas story of the baby Jesus in the manger, but we won't talk about everything that's in the book or not in the book. We'll just
give a spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, and I'm not spoiling.
I mean, we kind of know how it goes, though, right? Like, we know their objective. We know they make it to see baby Jesus.
Right.
Okay, here we go. Akilah, a highly respected priest scholar in the lower council of Magi society, considers all his astronomy discoveries well-deserved stepping stones to a more fulfilling life. But the appearance of a new star challenges his priorities. As Persia totters on the brink of an undesirable king coming to power, Akilah declines an upper council position that could turn the tide. Instead, he studies an elusive star that doesn't appear in any almanacs or other writings except Jewish. His research makes him a target of Persia's religious and governmental conflicts. As dangers at home and abroad plunge Akilah into circumstances beyond his imagining, he realizes his knowledge of Jesus could destroy Magi society, its influence on Persia's government, and Persia's official religion. Untrusting of his counsel, 1,000 miles from aid, and bound to his cousin in a potentially career-ending contract, Akilah must decide how far he will go to protect what he knows of Jesus and whether the cost is worth the risk. Ta-da.
Thank you.
It sounds so exciting. And I can tell you, having read the whole book, and also written a review and an endorsement. It's a very exciting book. Well researched, characters that jump off the page, well worth reading.
Yeah, there's a lot of palace intrigue happening. So it's really cool. One of the things I love about biblical fiction is seeing the cultures and how they would have been, because it's so easy to read in the Bible, and then you're like, oh yeah, that happened. Of course, naturally, the wise men are at baby Jesus is, come and visit him, because why wouldn't they be? But to see the journey and the level of research that they had to do to get there, it's just like a whole new world. So I love it. So New Star is your debut novel. Congratulations. What inspired you to write this story?
Watching a live nativity December 17th, 2017. I was home sick, so I was watching church online. It was Shadow Mountain Community Church's Sunday service. And the last Sunday before Christmas, they always do a live nativity with a ton of beautiful live music. And it was just like God shined a spotlight on every part of that nativity, starting with the star, and whispered in my ear, there's a story to tell here. So I started jotting notes. And if you buy the book, you'll see that the dedication is to everybody who made the 2017 Shadow Mountain Community Church Live Nativity possible.
Is that church David Jeremiah's church?
Yes.
I was thinking it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Well, tell us the story about how you got the call from your publisher.
Yeah, that's a real God story, because I almost didn't get a call. In mid-2021, I was querying New Star. At the beginning of 2022, the Christian division of a major publisher contacted me. Their acquisitions editor said, I'm recommending this go to contract, and you'll hear from us soon. Throughout 2022, it jumped all kinds of hurdles with marketing and all the other departments. Finally got to the owner of the division, and she liked it, but then she wanted such a complete rewrite that it would have turned into a completely different story. And I'm not talking just, futzing with the characters. I'm talking a completely different story, not even based on the research I'd done. So I declined, and for the next 6 months, I just shelved all my creative writing and asked God if he really wanted me to pursue publication of any of my works in progress. Then in about September of 2023, Barbara Britton said, hey, you really need to approach Scrivenings Press. They're looking for 1 or 2 biblical fiction authors. And of course, Barbara's very well known in the biblical fiction space. She had just come back from a conference where she spoke, and she was talking to Scrivenings' owner. So I submitted my manuscript, and before they contacted me, I got an offer from a micro publisher, but I didn't think it was a very good fit. So I waited it out for Scrivenings, and they contracted me for my entire series, and I signed that contract exactly 7 years to the day from when I got the inspiration to write New Star.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's interesting too that Barbara Britton was involved in it. It's a little bit like my story, where another author was involved in directing my publisher too. Right. And I think that's something that Christian authors like to do for each other when they can, is to just try and support them, which is why we like biblical fiction aficionados. But.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So is the 4 books, maybe you'll talk about this later, but are the 4 books following Akilah and the other wise men, or is this like a branch off?
A little bit of a spoiler alert. The premise is that finding Jesus changed the trajectory of their lives so much that they, did look for opportunities to cross paths with him again, and did so during a few other key points in Jesus' life.
Well, that's cool.
So I figured out all the most plausible reasons for why and when they would be able to do that.
I love it. That's amazing. So what do you think was the biggest surprise as you went into fiction? What was the thing that kind of you didn't expect?
Well, I write for my day job. I research for my day job. I know all writing is hard. So that wasn't a surprise. But I think the biggest thing that surprised me was the fact that God invites us to co-create with him. That is such an amazing privilege. We still have to put in all the sweat equity, but then he takes it and does something with it that is so above and beyond what we can expect or imagine. And ever since I started doing faith-based writing, I've had Isaiah 63 verses 3 and 4 stuck up on my door to my bedroom, because the door to my bedroom happens to be where you can see it from a lot of different places. And it basically says, God, when you came down, you did all these things we couldn't ever think of or imagine. And there is no God like you who acts on behalf of his people. And that's exactly how I feel about writing biblical fiction.
That's neat. Well, taking that to the next step, you're relying on God, and maybe you're laying out a plot, or maybe you're writing from the seat of your pants. Was there one particular part of New Star where you wrote yourself into a corner?
Oh, I do that all the time. I have even more problem with that in book 2. But I had to figure out a legal way for Akilah's antagonist to do the things that he did and have it not be a caricature, have it be something authentic to Persian culture, Persian law. And so it wouldn't look like it was out of some cop movie that bad things were happening to him, And so I spent a lot of time reading about Persian law and trying to figure out all the legal ins and outs, because Persian law was very specific. Once you wrote a law, it couldn't be rescinded. So, I had to figure out my way around that to make some of the tension happen in the book.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, I thought it was like the Persian law is very morally based. Like there was, you must have found so much to fill in all those details with, like lying was not acceptable, and like things that we would say as would be morally acceptable now are what they were basing their lives off too. So I was really cool to see the culture.
Yeah, and they had incredibly complex marriage law that did a lot of things to protect women, especially if they were orphans or something like that. Back in that day, they really did esteem women, and women worked in pretty much every echelon of society.
So what is the hardest thing about filling in those details? You've got the structure of the law and what Persian looks like, but what's hard about filling in more details to make it a fluid story?
Well, I think the Bible and history tell us facts. They don't tell us the why behind the facts. so we get this two-dimensional pencil sketch of people and what's going on. And you have to figure out what motivates them. Why do they do what they do? And, a big one for me in book 1 had to do with Herod. We know he did all kinds of terrible things, but I needed to know why he did certain things near the end of his life, including writing his son Antipas out of the will as king. Less than 2 weeks before he died, he decided he was going to divide up his kingdom. And so we know that's true from the Bible. We know that's true from history. But why did he do that? And how did that affect his sons afterwards? How did that affect all the decisions they made and how they ruled their own little piece of land after that? History comes up kind of short on the motivation end of that sort of thing. So then you do your homework, and then you have to just crawl around inside their heads and figure out what's plausible and authentic as you can be.
Well, along that same line of research, was there one favorite piece that was really interesting, a tidbit that did not make it into the book?
Well, I'd be hard pressed to pick one thing.
You got time.
Yeah, there were so many awesome things I learned. Before I started this book, I didn't know anything about Persia. I'll be honest with you. They were just so advanced, and that's true of a lot of ancient civilizations. We just don't give any of them credit for the things they did. But there's one thing that didn't make it into book 1, but it is going to make it into book 2. And that's the fact that they had vending machines in the first century. They were used in temples to dispense holy water because they kind of had a shortage of priests. So they literally created vending machines where you'd stick a coin in or a token and it would dispense holy water. And so that makes it into a fun scene in book 2.
Okay, I thought you were going to say gumdrops.
Well, you have an ice house. Like, I think I saw that on Facebook. You know how reliable Facebook is. But I think I saw that about having ancient cultures had ice houses. And you've got that in New Star too. Like, it's just so cool. I love it.
Yeah, they could keep water frozen year round.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
Demi says she could use that kind of insight. Tell me why I do the things that I do. Girl, we'll feel you. Hi, Charlene. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just now joining, we will be leaving the comments open for through Friday. And there is for US addresses, Lana is offering a paperback of New Star. So make sure you're commenting to make sure that you get entered in. Every comment counts as an entry there. If you're watching this in the replay, thank you so much for joining us. We're here with Lana Christian about New Star. And we're just loving learning about all the backstory right here. So what is your go-to when you need to pick me up to keep writing?
Oh, well, I think most everything can be solved with chai tea and hiking. So one of the two of those, but everything can get solved with prayer. And so, yes, I do the typical things. I walk away from the computer. I take a walk. I do something completely different from the writing. But the biggest thing I do really is pray. And God shows up in a really big way when I get myself out of the way. In terms of just like, for example, I started out writing about one guy that I thought was going to be the main antagonist. And it was like, no, he really needs to be a scapegoat. And I was like, all right, this is awesome. So you go with it. But, there's that co-creating thing with God that you put in your sweat equity, and then he does something above and beyond what you could do on your own. I mean, I can't say how many times I would do research and I'd find something interesting, but I'd go, oh, that's great, but I can't use that. And then 3 months later, 6 months later, God would go, no, this is really important to the story. And,
cool. I love it.
Just that happens so many times that I can't take any credit for that.
Well, it's really cool when that happens, because I think Mr. Andrews said this a couple weeks ago, was when we have our imagination going one way, and then the Lord uses that tidbit in the story, it's like, you're on the right track. You're being faithful to what we know of the scripture, and also to produce the quality story. So I love that. That's really cool.
Right. Thank you.
Well, tell us what is absolutely essential for you to write. I mean, some authors say they need a quiet space. They like to write to classical music. They have to have never-ending coffee on their desk. So tell us.
Yeah. Well, I don't do coffee. I do tea. So that's essential. But I do need quiet to write. And I think that's because when I'm writing, I'm concentrating so hard that, frankly, I don't hear the timer on the stove for my tea when it's done steeping. So, when I take a break, I'm turning on music, I'm exercising and dancing around the room or whatever. But, when I'm actually writing, I got my head down and I'm laser focused. So I don't do music when I'm writing.
Well, me either. I've got to have quiet too. How about you, Naomi?
Oh no, I gotta have some. I used to have a playlist from my go-to is Hans Zimmer, who's like created so many of the beautiful musical scores in movies, like even all the way back to Prince of Egypt. I used to have one of his that I'd play, and it's really intense. But then they took it off of YouTube because it has Pirates of the Caribbean, and that's Disney. So I also so I'm trying to get into a new Hans Zimmer playlist that's an orchestra, but it's because I'd listened to that one so long. It was like, it's real hard to get into. But then I'll switch out to a classical, it's called Classical Music When You're on a Deadline. It's also on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
So it like, that's with, I believe Paladin Music puts out these like different, like, just like trying to get people interested in classical music, which is, it's like classical music for when you work out, or for, like all these fun things. So I need to have that, like, especially like I tried today to have like instrumental hymns on, and it was just like too beautiful and sweet and flowy. And I'm like, what is this? I got to get back to my Vivaldi,
Yeah. I took 10 years of piano lessons. Did you? Sang in choirs, toured Europe when I was in college. And wow. I can't just listen to music in the background. Because I'll start picking out the counterpoint. I'll start, I'll start doing all that, analysis that I once upon a time had to do when I was singing. And I can't turn that off. So I just don't have music on until I know I can take a break and enjoy the music.
That's funny. Demi says classical music rocks, laugh out loud. Yeah. Yes, I have to, but like, if you're looking for, like it's a 3-hour, they'll have big chunks of like pretty intense music. I'll have to share that with you if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Rebecca, glad you're here. The comments will be open through Friday.
Hey, Rebecca.
If you're reading if you're watching, if you're reading, because we all read books. If you're watching,
team.
if you're watching in the replay, feel free to watch all of it. And more comments will get you more entries into winning a prize, a paperback of New Star for U.S. addresses. Charlene thinks it would distract her if she was writing. So apparently Charlene is on Team Dana and Lana.
There you go.
I also have something that this is like been messing with my brain since we've started talking. Does anyone else see an incongruency with how we say Dana and Lana, but they're spelled the same way? Does anyone else see a problem with this?
Yeah, everybody mispronounces my name. So
how do you say it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I lived in Europe for a while, and they don't have an "a" sound in their language, you know, like in German or French. And so everybody in Germany would say Lana. And, you know, a lot of people here in America say that too. And I really don't care, you know, as long as you don't call me late for dinner. So, yeah. And, you know, same thing with when I was researching names for New Star, we really don't know how people pronounce names back then. So, you know, Akilah sounds good to me. You look up other pronunciations and it's Akilah or something like that. And I really don't care how it's pronounced. I just hope you like the book. So.
And Demi, I love this. Demi says, Lana Christian, the best name for a BibFic author.
Thank you. Thanks, Demi.
That's perfect.
No, it really is my last name. Truly.
That's perfect. Okay, so did you base the characters off of anyone you know?
Sure. You always do, even if it's subliminally. Yeah, I think part of the reason why I like Akilah is because he's a little bit like me. He knows a lot of stuff. He has a lot of experience with life, but he's still kind of idealistic, and that works either for or against him, depending on the situation. And that's kind of like I am in some ways. Talus, who's another one of the wise men, is modeled after somebody that was a wonderful father figure to me. He had many good qualities. Rashidi, who's the third wise man in the book, he is a composite of a bunch of people.
I think what you said at first kind of resonates with me. It's like he was like me. I think a lot of my characters, a lot of them come out of me. And if it's like one character trait that I apply to this person, I may use other character traits that strengthen that are really not so much me, you know. So yeah, it's interesting how you build a character out of what you know, who you are. Yes, you know, some of the people around you that you admire or don't admire.
Right. Yeah, there's just a little smidgen of several of them in my characters.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your writing process. I think that's something everybody is interested in, your actual process.
I'm looking at Rebecca's comment. Yes, he really is a mess. Okay. All right. My writing process is probably chaotic compared to a lot of other writers' process because, number one, I still have a day job. And number two, I do not outline. I will not outline. There's a reason for that. That's a story for another time. But I'm not totally a pantser. I do a ton of character background development. I do mind maps to map out the relationships between the characters. I, do a lot with figuring out their backstories and their motivations and their wounds. And when I get all that in place, then I'm ready to write about them. And thank you, Charlene. And so I do, map out their character arcs. I do let things kind of develop organically to some extent, but I do have an end game in mind. That I do not hold myself to a number of words per day or week. That would make me crazy. That's just not me.
Oh, Naomi, it's your turn.
No.
I'm not ready to take it, but no, go.
I'm like, okay, all right, let's do this. So what themes are transcendent through the story of New Star?
Well, I think there's a few. Number one is, what would you risk? And even if it was a real high cost, to do something that would take you so far out of your comfort zone the way that the wise men did. I think that's a question we all ask ourselves in one way or another. And whether we're asking it about our faith or about some other, venture in our lives, we're always weighing risk and cost. And so what would you do if God said, you go completely out of your comfort zone, you're going to do something that's really high risk, really high cost, probably in, small chance of success as far as humans would consider. What would you do? And I think that's a really terrific universal question. Another thing is faith doesn't follow a straight line. It doesn't walk in a straight line, and it's okay to zigzag. It's okay to ask God questions because he can handle them. And I hope that people can see that in the book and feel like that gives them permission to ask some of those questions themselves and, just figure out where you are.
Well, my next question was, what is something you'd like readers to come away with? And I think you answered that in that question. So I would suggest that we go on to something else, which is ask our readers out there to put in the comments some questions that you would like Lana to answer.
Okay.
So we'll give you a couple minutes to do that. In the meanwhile, I'll show you my Burl Ives bear for Christmas. If we can get him to do it, does the Christmas story.
The true story of Christmas. The birth of Jesus. The shepherds were watching their flocks in the fields near Bethlehem. And suddenly, the angel of the Lord appeared, and a bright light shined from the sky through the darkness. The shepherds were afraid, but the angel said, "Do not fear, for I bring you good tidings of joy."
Okay, I'm stopping him because nobody's writing their questions.
Everybody's and just for the record, New Star starts about a year and a half after that. So
yeah. Well, I didn't have the perfect Burl Ives bear.
That's cute. So if so what's coming up next? Oh, here we go. Lana, how Lana, how did you decide to write about this? One of you take this because we all have a Christmas thing happening. So how did you decide to write about this topic?
Oh, is that for me?
Yes, it's for Lana.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. It was from watching a live nativity back in 2017. And at that point, I had not thought at all about writing biblical fiction, but God just said, "Hey, now's the time." So writing it did change my perception about maybe not the Christmas experience per se, but just what was going on in the world and what the wise men risked to do what they did. And the results that followed. I mean, we're still reading about the wise men today. It's having an eternal impact. And I think that we never realize how God uses things for eternal impact, not just with people in the Bible, but with us today. We can't see down the road, but God can. And so that was pretty cool.
Rebecca doesn't know how to ask the question without giving the story away. Maybe a private message.
Okay.
That's funny.
Oh gosh. Well, you can
Demi
try.
wants to know, do you have a favorite character?
Oh, that would be like asking who's your favorite child.
You're only in book 1. Come on.
I don't know. You know, they're all great in different ways, except the bad guys, of course. So.
Where did you go for research on the council?
Oh, lots and lots of places. There is something akin to an Encyclopedia Britannica that has tons and tons of history of ancient Iran. There are all kinds of records of historians from the day, like Herodotus was a Greek historian, Josephus. Of course, there's more in the Bible than we know, because in the Bible I reference some history about Persia, or in the book I reference some history about Persia that is actually in the Bible. And there's a teensy-weensy footnote wherever that occurs, like, you know, this is from Ezra 5 or 6 or something like that, just so you guys know that, you know, it really is true. And so I did all that. I read lots and lots of articles, like Smithsonian articles, biblical archaeology articles, any kind of article like that would help me understand about the culture, the world history of the time. You know, of course, I also have what's called a cultural Bible that gives some of that background. And pretty much I pounded the web for research for the better part of a year, just to make sure I, you know, really knew what I was talking about.
And I really like how all those cultural and historical and different details about the council really kind of made what is in the Bible about the wise men, which kind of portends a little bit of danger. I mean, every time I've ever read that, I always felt the danger, but you made it really understandable.
Oh, thank you.
You understood the whole context. So that was
Thank
great.
you. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Rebecca, we don't know with certainty where the wise men came from. The biggest amount of research and history points to Persia. There are lots of other theories about where they came from, and some people say they came from all over the place. And, you know, the biggest body of evidence has them coming from Persia. And so that's what I went with. And, you know, it just, there's so much about Persia's culture and history that makes the whole story dovetail with the biblical account so well.
Okay. Any more questions?
Have you seen this phrase, Lana? Wise men still speak in like on t-shirts. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's
beautiful. Amen.
Okay.
I love it. All right, so let's move into our game. If you are viewing now, feel free to play along. It's going to be a true or false. Dana and I are going to ask Lana some questions about Persian culture, about the wise men, and we're going to wait for you. So hop on real quick with a T or an F with your vote. And then Lana will tell us the actual answer. So keep track of your yeses and your trues and falses, and we'll see. And again, every comment is going to be adding your name in one more time to the drawing this weekend for new Star paperback for U.S. addresses. So we have one more question. How did you choose their names?
Oh, well, that was a fun thing. I did a bunch of word search work, and their names reflect the word wise in their native language.
Interesting. That's
Very
cool.
cool.
So like one of them's originally from Egypt, one's from Mesopotamia, and another one's from around Chaldea. So in their language of their homeland, their name means wise.
Okay. So did you find, so like in some of the movies, they have like Gaspar and Belshazzar and Melchior? Like, is that,
Right.
where did that tradition get started? Do you know?
I don't know exactly when it got started, but it's a tradition that goes back, I don't know, like 1,500 years or something like that. And I read all that, and then I kind of just put it aside because I was like, well, I don't want my book to be based on tradition. I want it to be based on truth wherever possible. So, there's a lot of what we think we know about the wise men that's actually tradition. And, like, for example, how many there were. And we don't know. But because I don't want my readers to keep a spreadsheet to have to track my characters, I did keep it to 3, which is a traditional type of number. But I did that just so you don't have to learn about it, 10 different wise men in my book. So.
Yeah, that's funny. Good planning there. It's hard to be like, wait, which guy was this? What's
I don't want to have to keep a spreadsheet. So.
All right, so let's get into our game. It's a true false game. So if you're tuning in now or if you're watching in the replay, feel free to comment on your, it should be timed in the replay. So go ahead and comment whether you think this is true or false. And let's play along. And then we'll give you, what do you think, 30 seconds, Dana?
Yep.
30 seconds to decide if this trivia is true or false, and then we'll let Lana explain the actual. Oh, I hope you guys didn't see that. I just like flipped up my page right there. Don't be peeking. No cheating. No cheating allowed. That's not a good Persian law. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. All right. So, do you want to take the first?
Yeah.
Let's see here. In New Star, the wise men come from Persia, the heart of the Parthian Empire. So we just don't want that terminology to be construed as a trick question. So Parthian Empire, you will hear that term, and they come from Persia, which is like right in the heart of that.
Yeah. Persia was basically to the Parthian Empire what Italy was to the Roman Empire.
Oh, okay. Like home base.
Right. Home base.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. Oh, we've already got some truths. You are correct. These are true. This was like I had a little note that I had to start out saying. You guys all get some bonus points right there.
Well, and you should be working for bonus points, because something that you might not know, because Lana said it before we started, is that she has a couple of really cool maps in the front of her paperback book. So those of you who are map nerds like I am, she's including, well, the maps are in the paperback book. Not only that, she's including a bookmark or 2 bookmarks. Which is it? 1 or 2?
Well, it's a bookmark, and it looks like 2 bookmarks because it's different on the front and back.
Okay. So you should definitely be commenting for all you're worth. Okay, who's doing the first question, me or you?
Go for it.
Okay. First century Persians had reliable clocks. True or false?
Do, 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 do.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Maybe we should like sing like a Christmas carol while we're waiting.
Oh no, well.
Pretty.
Charlene says false. Demi says true. Rebecca says true.
Oh, I thought she said 17.
What?
I think I need new glasses.
17. That was okay.
So, that sounds weird enough to be true, and it actually is. Persia wasn't the only culture that had clocks back then. The Egyptians and Babylonians did too.
And what kind of clocks did the Persians have?
Well, they were water clocks. So you would fill a basin with water and it would drain at a certain rate down at the bottom, and there would be a bowl inside the basin, and you could tell the time based on the level of the water. And one of the things they used it for was to make sure that people were watering their fields the right way for the right amount of time. But it was also used for meetings and other stuff.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. All right. Question number 2. Wise men used a rudimentary magnetic compass to help them navigate. True or false? Maybe we should bring on your baby. Your baby.
Yeah, don't overthink this, everybody. It's just, just either yeah or no.
Go for it.
Yes or no?
Yeah, just yes or no off the cuff.
False for Demi.
5 more seconds, and then she's going to give the answer.
True for Rebecca. And false for Charlene.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. What's the correct answer?
False. They did not have compasses and would not have compasses for hundreds of years.
All right.
Interesting.
How did they navigate then? Was it based off of the stars?
Well, partially. They used astrolabes and things called cross staffs, and that helped them do stuff like trigonometry, which, that's another thing we never knew they had, but they did. And so they could figure out their location from the horizon and from certain stars and that sort of thing.
That's amazing. Huh.
It really was. I mean, they traveled humongous amounts of distance that way.
Okay, this one is another one that sounds crazy, and we'll see whether it's true or false. First century Persians enjoyed frozen desserts. True or false?
Rebecca says they were very advanced, and that is, I love it. It's in a kids audio drama that I used to listen to with my daughter. It was talking about how God made man smart from the start. So I love that.
There you go.
Rebecca says true. Charlene says true, and Demi says true.
Yeah, actually, it is true. They did have frozen desserts. They could freeze water year round. They had a thing called fedula that's still a national, favorite dessert in that part of the country or part of the world. So that actually figures into the story in a couple different ways.
That is so cool. I wanted to hear you say that.
Well, I was going to try to backdate that comment, but I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I can only delete that user. Okay. Don't want to delete myself. I was going to try to get that in so it would be like right above that. Got distracted. All right. Number 4. Is that me, Dana?
Yeah, that's you, I think.
The wise men chose gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh for their healing properties. True or false? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, healing properties.
Oh, I love the answer to this one. Okay. That's almost a spoiler, isn't it?
Well, either everybody
Charlene says true.
Okay.
Demi says true. And Rebecca says true. All right. Go ahead. Tell us what the true answer is on that.
Well, frankincense and myrrh do have healing properties, but that's not why the wise men chose those gifts. There's actually a popular theory that that's why they chose them, because people say, well, that would have been practical to give to Mary and Joseph. They could use it and all that, and the gold they could use for money. But the real reason, I think, is even more interesting. The wise men, remember, were very high up in Persian society. They would have been around kings before, and they would know that when Persia would subjugate a country and bring it under its rule, that the subjugated countries would bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh as homage to their conquering king. And I think that's just the most incredible double entendre in the world, because Jesus is the King of Kings.
Right.
And
That's why I did that.
the wise men chose to bring Jesus, whether they knew all the reasons or not for doing that, if they were just bound by what they understood of culture at the time, or what, they brought the King of Kings the types of gifts that earthly people brought to the kings that had conquered them.
Wow, I love it.
Okay, number 5. And Lana, I'm going back to your original format, I think.
Okay.
At the time of Jesus' birth, the Parthian Empire was larger than the Roman Empire. True or false? You need me to reread it? At the time of Jesus' birth, the Parthian Empire was larger than the Roman Empire.
Rebecca says true. Charlene says true. And Demi says true.
Okay. Well, whether you said true or false, you'd be right, because they were both about the same size at the time of Jesus' birth. They were both more than 1,100,000 square miles in area, which is enormous. That's just...
I can't even comprehend that.
Yeah. Parthian Empire stretched from Egypt to India. The Roman Empire stretched, to, Great Britain. So both of them pretty much had a big chunk of the world underneath their thumb.
What a time.
All right. So in the interest of time, let's do one last one.
Mm-hmm.
Persia's Magi society was second only to royalty in rank. True or false? Persia's Magi. Is it Magi or Magi?
Magi.
Magi. True to Charlene. True to Demi. And Rebecca also says true.
Yeah. That actually is true. Yeah. They were very high up in society, very influential, very powerful. And a certain segment of Magi society actually was in charge of picking the king.
Wow.
It was the only culture of its kind in that day that actually voted, if you will, in a sense, on a king. But there was just an elite group of people that were Magi that did that.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. And that figures into the book, by the way.
Excellent. Well, let's get into our reading. We really appreciate you all, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the replay, for tuning in. We're going to do a reading of New Star, and then that'll close out our evening. So thank you so much, Lana. Take us away with the reading.
Sure. Well, this is the first 2 pages of the first chapter of New Star, and chapter 1's titled, This Could Change Everything. So the setting is Persia, the second week of March, 4 BC. Akilah pored over the last scroll in his stack. Again, nothing. At the opposite end of his reading table, his younger colleague remained hunched over a codex. Akilah tapped the table. Anything? No. Rashidi shut the codex with a sigh. Akilah rose and paced the length of the room. Then we keep looking. Where? Rashidi leapt from his seat and double-timed his steps to match Akilah's long-legged strides. I think the head librarian suspects something. Oh, there's nothing suspect about doing research. He suspects we haven't found anything. Rashidi plucked Akilah's sleeve. He questioned me on how all the volumes we pulled on history, world culture, and religion pertain to an astronomy project. Somehow he knows I went to Nineveh's library for 3 weeks. And yesterday, the head of the lower council almost smirked when he asked me how our research was progressing. Oh, well, that's Sassenach's way. He was baiting you. Only the lead researcher of any study can report its results. Akilah dismissed Rashidi's concern with a hand wave, but his brow furrowed. What Akilah's superior knew or thought he knew about this study could influence the council at large. Rashidi stepped in front of Akilah so abruptly that the two collided, Rashidi's nose getting the brunt of Akilah's chest. Your progress report to the council is due in a week. We have no progress to report. Rashidi's voice rose like water coming to a boil. How can that not concern you? Eyebrows raised, he stabbed a finger toward the tumble of scrolls on the floor next to Akilah's reading table. Well, lack of progress did concern him greatly, but he wouldn't admit it. Everyone esteemed him a wise man, yet his current study defied logic. Neither his 30 years of service to Magi Society nor his previous astronomical discoveries would be enough to secure the council's continuing support, especially to pursue an elusive star he had seen only once.
Oh, all right.
Love it.
Well, I can tell you, I've been reading it this week, and I've really enjoyed New Star. It's like we've been talking all through the evening about how the culture, and it just brings that part of the Bible to life. So if you are watching this today live or in the replay, be sure to enter it, especially if you have a U.S. Only if you have a U.S. address. We do apologize. Its shipping is quite ridiculous. So we do apologize for that, but it's definitely worth the enter. Be sure to follow Lana so you follow along and get her updates on her projects. And
Lana, could you hold up the book?
oh yeah, show us the cover.
Here's the cover. Oops. Oh. Can you
Oh
see it?
goodness.
Ah.
Just
Oh,
like
I
your
blurred my
chat.
background.
There you go, right there in front of you.
Well,
Okay. If you go to my author website, lanachristian.com, there are resources that are now unlocked that you can download a free Bible study that goes along with this. There's also a book club kit. And for a completely immersive experience, that includes a feature called Eat Like a Persian, which is a bunch of recipes of food that's included in this book. So if you do a book club and everybody makes one recipe, you'll have a complete dinner with desserts. And if you want to, you can just do like dessert and a drink. So there's
cool.
options like that, and you can invite me via Zoom to your book club.
that's great.
Excellent. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much for sharing about New Star. It's been really fun to get to know that and get to know you a little bit better. And will you be able to check back in and see if there's more comments throughout the week, or
Absolutely.
as you have time? Great. And yeah, if you have a question that's a spoiler, feel free to message Lana directly or reach out on her contact page on her website, lanachristian.com. That way you can get some answers, but then
Right. Thank you, Charlene.
Very good. Well, the comments will be left open through Friday. Be sure you're commenting. And thank you so much for being a part of Biblical Fiction Aficionados. We're so blessed by this group of readers that are so dedicated to the Word of God and the what ifs that surround what we know in Scripture. We couldn't do it without you as readers. We couldn't do it without our wonderful writers as well. Thank you for being here and then inviting your friends, because this is a great community. We do have book club coming up this month. We'll have Reader's Choice Awards. We have our author interviews that we do lives here. We have lots of fun things, and then just discussion about all things biblical fiction era and early church era here at Biblical Fiction Aficionados. So we're really proud of this community and all that you have contributed to bring awareness to this unique and beautiful genre. It's really an honor to be part of this with you. So I'm going to see if I can't find the cover, just in case you didn't see Lana's.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I didn't know the background would do that to my cover.
Yeah, that's weird, huh? Here we go. Here we go. Oh no, I lost it. There we go. There's New Star. It's fantastic. You get to learn all about the culture of the wise men. It's like their origin story. So it's really cool to see that. Rebecca says, thank you for a great time and for writing us wonderful stories. Yes, thank you so much. And is Demi going to do a live? Yes, actually, in just a couple of weeks, we've got Demi Griffin already scheduled for Return of the Sun. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. We've got some fantastic authors who have come on to this platform, and we're just excited to share that with you, with our biblical fiction authors. And yes, we're looking forward to it as well, Demi. Thank you so much for signing up, because we need to bring all of the awareness to all of the authors. It needs to happen. Another great book. Rebecca, you are just an amazing advanced reader, and we so appreciate you and your constant support. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And Charlene, you're such a great reader and reviewer too. We're just so blessed by you guys. We really cannot do this without that extra boost from you guys. So Thank you so much. Hopefully, if you are in 100 degrees weather, it will cool down soon. Because it's officially Christmas. We've been talking about Christmas, so it's officially Christmas time. It's fair. We can start playing all the Christmas music, right? Rebecca is the best. Yes, it is an honor. It's an honor for us to have you on our teams all the time. So thank you so much for that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We'd love to point you in the right direction. You can also, if you are familiar with, want to find out, like anyone who's written about the wise men, what biblical fiction books are about the wise men. We do have Biblical Fiction Finder that I have been able to take over from Katie Donovan. That's on my website at naomicraig.com. It's Biblical Fiction Finder. You just type it in, and then it will pull up all that are logged. But there's over probably close to 500 books logged now. So yeah, we've got some great resources there as well. So keep that in mind, and we will see you all around online. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and Merry Christmas. Let me be the first one to say that. Merry Christmas. So thank you so much. We'll see you guys all around online.
Bye-bye.